Okay, we'll get to the video in a second, but before we do, let me just say this summary will not be covering all the intricate science stuff. I don't know much about science. It's very confusing. If you want to know everything about the science in Dr. Stone, I'm sure there's plenty of great videos out there on YouTube. You can find them. Dig deeper for yourself. This is just going to be a summary of this story, and I'll just go over the basic science stuff that most of us will understand. So with that being said, let's get into the video. One sunny afternoon in Japan, Hiroshi High student Taiju Oki tells his genius friend Senku that he will finally confess his love to Yuzuriha after having feelings for her for 5 years. After refusing a fake love potion from Senku to ensure he succeeds, Taiju meets Yuzuriha at the camphor tree in front of the school to confess his love. Suddenly, before he gets his message across, a bright green flash of light appears out of nowhere as Taiju tries to protect Yuzuriha from it. However, nothing could protect her from the light which turns every human on the planet to stone.
And doves, apparently.
Days, months, then years pass as the planet begins to feel the effects of a world without humans. Taiju manages to maintain his consciousness, unable to rest until he finishes his love confession. After several thousand years, he finally breaks out of his stone casing to a greener world, with everyone around him still frozen. He then finds Yuzuriha clinging to the camphor tree, and is finally able to finish what he began to say thousands of years ago. On the tree, he finds a message directed to him, which leads him to his old friend Senku, who's been awake for 6 months. Due to the fact that he counted the entire time he was frozen, he is able to tell Taiju that the date is October 5th, 5738. Now with extra manpower, Senku is ready to move beyond mere survival and kickstart civilization. Senku walks Taiju through why he believes that the nitric acid from the cave where Taiju awakened is the key to their survival. He has been experimenting with it for months in trials on stone birds, though has been unsuccessful in reviving them.
If only we had some booze.
Once they create alcohol, they run trial after trial, until finally, after a year, their first successful subject breaks free of the stone and regains its freedom. Senku gives Taiju the choice of the first human to revive, but before they revive Yuzuriha, they are chased by lions. In order to save themselves, Taiju suggests reviving a nearby statue he saw on his first day. So, as they become surrounded, they revive the strongest Primate high schooler, Tsukasa, who makes quick work of the monstrous lions and assures Senku and Taiju that they will never again be in danger. Soon after, Senku explains to the duo that the most important thing they need to build a scientific civilization from scratch is calcium carbonate.
They produce them by smashing seashells or something.
After complimenting Senku's genius, Tsukasa smashes an adult stone statue out of misdirected anger. He then asks Senku whether he plans to revive every black-hearted adult, and seems displeased with his answer. Senku's only trump card over this overpowered high schooler is that only he and Taiju know the secret of the revival fluid.
Well, that secret's out.
Senku states that they don't have enough fluid to revive Yuzuriha, and Tsukasa forcefully volunteers to retrieve more from the cave. However, this was merely a trick to get Tsukasa away from them before reviving Yuzuriha. Once they revive her, they are unable to decide on a plan before Tsukasa returns. With no way to stop the strongest Primate high schooler, Tsukasa tells them not to stand in his way, as he continues to smash every adult statue he can find. Meanwhile, Senku tells his friends that they'll need to warp past 2 million years of progress to develop the only thing that can stop him: gunpowder. So, they stage a scene to make it look as though they fled in fear, and head 80 kilometers away to Hakone, where they will find the raw materials for gunpowder. Using the still-standing Buddha landmark, they find their way there, though Tsukasa is hot on their trail after deducing their plan. After gathering the ingredients, and with the magic of science, they create their ultimate weapon to stop Tsukasa, one way or another.
And Taiju tells Yuzuriha that he'll finish what he has to say to her after they revive the world.
In response to their unintentional explosion, they see another smoke signal nearby and respond by relighting their own. Unfortunately, Tsukasa manages to take Yuzuriha hostage and immediately asks for the revival fluid recipe. Tsukasa sees through Senku's bluff about not caring if Yuzuriha dies, and the young scientist folds, spilling the secret recipe. Senku is then given an ultimatum: live and promise to give up developing a scientific civilization forever, or die. Senku thinks back to his childhood where his love for science first began, and admits that he can never give it up. And so, Tsukasa begrudgingly kills the man who could have been his first real friend by snapping his cervical plexus in one blow.
Oh, and he cut Yuzuriha's hair if you care about that.
Taiju arrives too late to help as he holds his best friend's corpse in his arms. Then, he and Yuzuriha combine to create an explosion using the gunpowder, allowing them to escape with Senku in tow.
Taiju knows that this is a shonen anime and there's no way the main character can die.
Yo, could you stop, man? I got this.
Okay, sorry. I'm right though.
Taiju knows that his friend would never sacrifice himself for nothing, and that there must be a way to bring him back, and Yuzuriha remembers how Senku drew attention to his neck before Tsukasa's strike. They find a bit of stone at the back of his neck, and use the revival fluid on it,
They found out it has regenerative properties earlier when they used it on Yuzuriha's foot.
which regenerates Senku's injury as he awakens from death.
Flashback time!
On April 1st, 5738, Senku broke out of his stone slumber, and through sheer science and diligence, developed the tools he would need to survive the new world. Though he soon realized the need for extra hands, so he dug up his old friend Taiju, and after figuring out that nitric acid was the key to his revival, began experimenting with the fluid.
And eventually he woke up, blah blah blah, we went over this.
With Senku now awake, he instructs Yuzuriha on the details of their next mission, though tells Taiju it's best to keep him in the dark on the details.
'Cause he's an idiot.
The gist of the plan is that Taiju and Yuzuriha will act as spies and sneak into the Tsukasa Empire, whilst Senku finds those that sent up the smoke signals and make allies of his own to take on the tyrant with science. And so, the three split up as Senku lifts up his flag, vowing to build a kingdom of science and meet them again one day. Meanwhile, the girl who sent up the smoke signal engages Tsukasa in battle after witnessing the murder of Senku. Tsukasa realizes that she is not from his time, but hurries back to the cave before Taiju and Yuzuriha can get there, though not before leaving the girl with a parting gift.
He gave her the wood, but I'll stop.
Senku quickly gets to her and builds a pulley system to lift the tree off of her. The girl, Kohaku, then decides to help him, at which point she leads the sorcerer to her village, where he can begin building his kingdom of science. When there, Senku is barred from entering by the two guards, Kinro and Ginro, though he is able to discover just how primitive this mysterious civilization is. Then, the village sorcerer Chrome arrives, though he is unable to face Senku with his so-called sorcery. Senku's modern intellect overwhelms Chrome, who agrees to give up his storehouse and himself to Senku and his newly founded Kingdom of Science. Senku gets excited over Chrome's collection of minerals, whilst Kohaku delivers the hot spring water she gathered to her ailing older sister and the village shamaness, Ruri.
Chrome's in love with her, and Senku gives the straight-laced Kinro a golden spear tip.
After Chrome tells Senku that he turned to sorcery in order to find a way to cure Ruri, Senku sits him down and tells him of the world before the fall. They then embark on their journey to create sulfa drugs in order to cure Ruri from her illness. With Kohaku a part of the team, the three of them use a magnet to gather up iron sand in the nearby river, where they manage to recruit another member to the Kingdom of Science, Suika.
Suika just wants to be helpful to people.
Why'd you turn into fucking Mickey Mouse?
Whilst gathering up sand, Senku's attention is piqued when he hears Chrome mention Momotaro. He is told that Ruri tells the villagers all sorts of stories, making Senku even more concerned with curing her. In order to create a fire hot enough to melt the iron sand into iron, Senku quickly realizes that they need to recruit labor. Great Detective Suika offers to gather intel on the villagers to find ways of baiting them into joining their Kingdom of Science. Suika's detective skills provide them the information they need, and Senku gets started on producing the most delicious meal he can in order to convert villagers to his side: ramen. The plan seems to work, and as the villagers chow down on the new cuisine, a potential enemy appears, which Senku recognizes as a popular magician from his time, Gen Asagiri.
There's quite a sharp tongue on this guy.
He was sent by Tsukasa to confirm Senku's death, though now that the Kingdom of Science has acquired iron, the opportunist is unsure of which player to side with. Gen is impressed when Senku's team hurriedly create a magnet with the power of lightning in order to create a dynamo. The team managed to recruit Kinro and Ginro to their cause, and with their help, electricity enters humanity's hands yet again. Before they can assure Gen is on their side, the mentalist is attacked by a villager, and only narrowly survives due to his clever precautions. The core kingdom members find him, and after he is guaranteed cola from Senku, he heads back to Tsukasa to assure him that his only threat is surely dead. The man who tried to kill Gen is Magma, and Kohaku knows the reason is because of the upcoming Grand Bout martial arts tournament. This tournament is held to determine the one who will marry Ruri and become the new village chief.
Kohaku's father is the current chief.
Desperate to stop Magma from winning, Kohaku tells Kinro and Ginro of their goal to save Ruri, and begins training the duo for the tournament.
Chrome, sorry buddy. Looks like you won't be the one marrying Rudy.
The next step on the science team's roadmap is glass, and once accomplished, Suika is finally able to overcome her poor eyesight to clearly see her friends for the first time.
Kinro also suffers from the fuzzy disease. Shh, don't tell anyone.
Unfortunately, the science team lack the skills to create usable glassware for their lab, so they recruit village artisan Kasaki to their team with little effort. The old man is key in helping them build out their laboratory, and when Kinro and Ginro go to ask for gold and silver spears, Senku agrees to make a silver one, though at a dangerous cost.
Kinro lost his golden spear earlier when they made a magnet.
Ginro's silver spear will serve as a sensor for their mission to gather up toxic sulfuric acid, though Senku quickly realizes that without gas masks, they'll never achieve their goal. Chrome refuses to be left behind in this life-threatening mission, where he and Senku narrowly manage to survive, thanks to the unexpected help of Ginro. With the sulfuric acid obtained, the final piece needed to complete the sulfur drug is alcohol, which coincidentally will be awarded to the winner of the Grand Bout taking place the next day. So, the day of the Grand Bout arrives, and with Senku taking part, he finally steps foot in the village, 5 months after arriving.
Rudy knows Senku?
The bracket turns out rather unfavorable for the Kingdom of Science, and even worse, Kohaku runs off to save Suika after a snaky lie by Magma's lackey, Mantle. Then, the tournament begins, and Kinro's poor eyesight drags him down against Magma, until Suika lends her helmet, thereby turning the tide of the fight. Nevertheless, Magma wins the fight through sheer treachery. Then Mantle throws his fight against Chrome before Kohaku makes it back in time, making Senku the victor by default, whilst Ginro defeats Argo thanks to Senku's performance-enhancing ingredients.
It's literally just sugar.
Next up, Chrome takes a heavy beating from Magma in the semifinals, though with his newfound knowledge of science and a little help from the returned mentalist Gen, he manages to win the fight. Senku then defeats Ginro after his sleaziness disgusts the village. Then before the final match can begin, Chrome passes out from sheer exhaustion and relief, leaving Senku as the default winner and new chief of the village. To the shock of the villagers, Senku demands a divorce, then makes off with the booze, and after a slew of complicated steps, the antibiotic is complete.
And Gen finally got his cola.
They administer the drug to Ruri, and though her father is skeptical, she eventually overcomes her illness to everyone's delight, leading her father to confirm Senku as the new chief of Ishigami village. Ishigami also happens to be Senku's last name, and Ruri explains that the final of the 100 tales the shamaness of the village must know is named Senku Ishigami. It turns out that Senku's dad, Byakuya, was an astronaut that was sent to space just days before everyone on Earth turned to stone, and is the founder of Ishigami village. On the day of the petrification event, Byakuya Ishigami and the 5 other astronauts aboard the ISS were the last remaining humans. They headed back down to Earth and did their part in rebuilding the world by bearing children, whose descendants would one day help Senku in kickstarting civilization. Ruri then takes Senku to the village graveyard, where he is able to pay respects to his father, and upon his return, is told by Gen that the Tsukasa Empire is on its way. That same night, Hyoga, Tsukasa's right-hand man, leads a war party in an attack on the village, though Senku scares them off with a little help from Gen and Magma, using a firearm bluff.
They still think Gen is on their side.
Against Hyoga's judgment, the party return after a few days during a storm, though they are met with a force now armed with katanas.
And Kinro's glasses.
The lackeys are easily pushed back, whereas Hyoga proves too great a match for the villagers, though the mentalist comes through for them again with his planned trickery. However, the battle was merely a diversion, as Hyoga's right-hand Homura sets fire to the village. Suika offers herself up as bait, and unintentionally leads the raid to Sulfurina, where everyone but Hyoga and Homura are killed. Hyoga returns to Tsukasa's empire, where many young and strong members have been added to the ranks, and gives him the report on Senku and the village. Meanwhile, the villagers prepare to strike back, but not before recreating humanity's greatest weapon, cell phones.
You know, communication warfare and that.
They have a few months to complete the task, as Tsukasa is most likely to attack right after winter, though with Homura keeping watch on the village, they must be extra secretive of their plans. With the whole village now recruited to the Kingdom of Science, labor is easier to come by, as the goal of communications technology gets closer, and the villagers stock up for winter. Then, a lot of shit happens. They create a cotton candy machine, gold wires, a water wheel, batteries, and light bulbs just in time for Christmas. Just as everything seems to be progressing smoothly, they hit a roadblock in creating their vacuum tubes. But, through sheer luck, they overcome it on New Year's Day, when Suika finds an ultra-rare ore of tungsten that is exactly what they need to create filaments for their vacuum tubes.
You know, heat resistance and that.
The dig team, consisting of Senku, Chrome, and Magma, head out to excavate more of the ore they need, though they stumble into some trouble in the cave. Magma agrees to follow Senku as long as he keeps life interesting, and they soon acquire all the rare minerals they could ask for. Magma then remembers the deadline Gen gave him, and they return to the village, where Senku is greeted with a special birthday present from his friends. How did Gen know it was his birthday? Just watch the episode, okay? Then, after a lot of hard labor, and Chrome's first mission free of Senku's help, they end up with a few centimeter long filament, which will serve as the heart of their cell phones. On the road to making plastic, the villagers get to enjoy stoves for the winter as a byproduct, whilst Katsuki finishes up the vacuum tube, and Suika and the children work on the gold wires. When all 3 components are complete, they succeed in assembling a cell phone.
And they need another one.
Still, their local test proves successful, and after hearing a strange tale from Ruri, Senku realizes that his father left him a gift in the founder's gravestone. He discovers a record there with a short message from his father, followed by a beautiful song by the talented singer Lillian Weinberg. The villagers, moved by the song and the prospect of even more fantastic entertainment, are now even more motivated to complete the second cell phone, triumph over Tsukasa, and revive the world to its former glory. So that is the video. Dr. Stone Season 2 summary should be out exactly 1 week from now. I am planning to upload every single Sunday from now on, and I hope you hold me to that. If anybody's even watching this late, I appreciate you. At least 1 video a week, every Sunday for sure. And with that being said, I'm excited for this new, consistent journey I'm about to embark on. So take it easy. Let's do this, and peace.